Okay, here's the deal. The jury in a Diddy trial came back on 4 of the 5 counts. A note came from the jury room. Diddy's lawyer, one of his lawyers, got the note, showed it to Diddy. Diddy's body language got bad. He put his head, he's got his hand in his head, or his head in his hand, he's looking down. Now, they can't reach a verdict, a unanimous verdict on count 1, which is the racketeering, the RICO. So that leaves the MANN Act, the transporting sex across state lines, and then also the human trafficking. There's 4 other counts. So my logic is this. If he was not guilty of the 4 other counts, then of course he's not guilty of the RICO, right? You wouldn't find him not guilty of everything else, but find him guilty of RICO. That makes no sense. So if they've reached a verdict, a unanimous verdict on those other 4, and not on the RICO, it could only mean it's guilty on the other 4, and they just don't want to give him the RICO, which is what a lot of us were saying all along. So the loser today is definitely Diddy. His behavior has been pretty confident all along, but now he's got his head in his hand. Most people said the amount of evidence that was presented as far as the moving people around for his entertainment and filming. The ironic thing is, if he would have set up, because this is what goes on in L.A. with the professional on-camera performers, people book them to do scenes because then you're doing a movie. So if I want to produce my own professional film, which I star, and then I hire female actresses, or in the case of some of you male actors, to record you and them, that's all totally legal. You're no MANN Act, you're no trafficking, because it's you're making a movie. And if Diddy would have just set it up like that, he would have been all right. But anyways, I just don't see any way logically that he hasn't been. They didn't find him unanimously guilty, because that's what the jury, that's what it requires under federal law on counts 2 through 5, and they're just hung up on the RICO. Now, what do these charges carry? Kind of depends on your pre-existing record and the severity. From best I could tell from reading, the MANN Act, which is the moving people across state lines, is maybe like a 5-year thing, and then the trafficking is 10. But I mean, there was no violence, per se. There was just coercion. Everyone was over age, so he would obviously come in at the low end of that. Sorry, I'm moving the phone around. I came in out of the streets to record this because this is important. So after all these months, I mean, we were all waiting for more of a smoking gun. We've heard all this crazy stuff. The prosecution didn't have to present it. But, of course, again, we don't know what the jury saw. There were some days where there were some videos that were shown that maybe weren't described. And the whole thing of him dangling. There's been YouTube videos and people trying to write saying that stuff was discredited and so lied, but there's been no proof that any of that stuff was lies. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I don't dislike Diddy. I don't like him. I don't really care, but probably for the jury, seeing those women in person one after another crying, seeing the security guards from the incident at the hotel that got all this started, saying that Diddy sent over a paper bag with $100,000. It's all seems pretty nefarious and like an ongoing pattern. It's not just he got out of control on drugs a couple weekends. I mean, this was a lifestyle for years and years. And in fact, 50 Cent's baby mama, Daphne Joy, she was mentioned in the whole thing. I think right before Diddy got charged, he paid her $10,000 to go on a trip to Turk and Caicos, and they were doing ecstasy. So it seems like his life had devolved into just drugs and these elaborate sex parties. And for a guy that's been famous since 1993-94, unfortunately, sex are like drugs. If you're seeking fulfillment and novelty, you got to keep doing crazier and crazier stuff. They didn't bring any men in to say that he had sex with him, though he was paying them to be with Cassie. Now the question is, when they were doing that in front of him, and he was debating, was he looking at Cassie or the guys? But so he's guilty by unanimous, 4 of 5 charges. It could only logically be, there's a unanimous verdict on 4 of 5 charges, 2 through 5. If those were not guilty, then count 1, the RICO, would inherently be not guilty. So now the judge, as of now, he's telling them keep deliberating. There's something called an Allen charge, where the judge says keep going back and trying. I don't know if Diddy's trial team is holding out one last hope that if the one charge becomes deadlocked, it throws out the whole thing. But that's not the case. Who knows? Maybe the prosecution, they could drop the RICO right now and just roll and say, you know what? Forget it. We'll just take what he's got. Or they could take all the guilties on those 4 and then recharge them on the RICO to try to give them life. Now that would be kind of mean-spirited on the prosecution side. The guy's going to get some serious. He's 55. Even if he got 5, 6, 7 years, but maybe they don't feel like that's enough time. Again, we're not privy to the whole investigation. They presented a case they probably wanted to seem streamlined and relatively quick. They could have had a lot more witnesses. Maybe there's a lot of really bad stuff about Diddy, and maybe people that are privy to that feel like he should be totally taken out of commission. But we may see the final. Is it what time? It's here. Okay, so it's past 5 o'clock in New York. The jury is allowed to deliberate as long as they want. They can stay into the night, or they can ask for food in the recess. I'm sure they want to get out of there before 4th of July. So I think tomorrow is the last day. So look for something to happen and this to be resolved before the 4th. But Diddy's got to be guilty on 2 through 5. So Diddy guilty on count 2 through 5. I'm going to go out. It's not really on a limb because it's the only thing that makes logical sense. Al Prophet, Diddy trial update. You heard it here first. Guilty at least on 2 through 5.